Steve Molesky at the baseball winter meetings with Keith Law from ESPN and ESPN.com. And Keith, I appreciate you taking a few minutes for us. It's a busy time of year, and you're hopping between on-air hits with the network and blogging and keeping track of all the things going on.
Yeah, exactly. We've got a couple of TV hits every day, but I will say it'll pick up when we get more activity, and I'm hoping that day 2 is a little more active than day 1.
Right. Let's talk about the Orioles, the American League East. It's been active. Boston's added, Toronto's added, Andrew Miller is a Yankee, the Rays have a new manager, and the Orioles, outside of the Dan Duquette rumors, there hasn't been any moves here the last 24 hours by them, except some small 40-man roster things. Is there pressure on the Orioles to match what has happened in the division?
I think there's real pressure in terms of the standings. If you're just looking at the teams on paper, and I recognize Baltimore has outperformed what they've been on paper several years in a row now, but still, they're going to need to do something to replace the offense that they've lost with Nelson Cruz, Nick Markakis. That doesn't mean they should have matched on those guys, but I think they have to be able to stay somewhat at par compared to the other teams in the division, which probably means adding a bat, maybe 2, between now and the end of the offseason.
Yeah. We were talking before we started taping this. With Dan, though, you don't know whether that move will come an hour from now or 3 months from now.
Even going back to when he was GM of the Red Sox, he was happy to wait in the offseason to try to find a bargain. He's very cost conscious. He's comfortable working in a lower budget than those of the teams he's competing against. It's the same situation in Baltimore. However, I wonder if the scarcity of bats available this offseason will force him to change that philosophy. Because if you want to get a premium bat anywhere, you're going to pay a lot in money or you're going to pay in prospects.
Yeah. And fans are always wondering about spending money. And one way to look at this, Keith, is the Orioles had hoped to get Nick back. And they probably had earmarked 35 or 40 million that is not being spent on Markakis. Does that give them a little more flexibility to pursue these other guys?
Yes, I think it does. I think it gives them the room. Now, the question will be matching up that room in the budget with the interest, too, because I think Duquette has always been the type of general manager who says, this is what I think the player's worth, and I'm not going to pay more than that. Right. That's a great philosophy, but it often leads to not signing free agents because the market doesn't really work that way.
Yeah. Have these other teams made up the 12-game gap on the Orioles with these offseason moves? Granted, there's not a game tomorrow, but just where we're at right now.
No, I think they're closer. I don't think I'd put any of those teams on paper ahead of Baltimore, but you know that they're not done. You know the Blue Jays are looking for another starter. Boston might be looking for 2 starters at this point. I still think the Yankees are going to make some significant move. They should with the rotation. There has to be something. We're not going to have an offseason where the Yankees choose not to spend money. That's just inconceivable. Right. Any one of those teams could leapfrog the Orioles, again on paper, with one more move.
Now, Dan Duquette has said he thinks it's more likely he signs a outfielder via free agency than trade. But for a minute, let's just talk trade. Sure. If it's Justin Upton or if it's Matt Kemp, is the price radically different for those two because one is signed long-term and one has 1 year to go? What could the Orioles throw out there that could get either of those?
I think the price on Justin Upton right now is one significant prospect, whether it's a Bundy or a Hunter Harvey, one premium guy, and a secondary prospect. I think that gets you Justin Upton. Whereas with Matt Kemp, it's a larger package. It's probably 3, maybe 4 players. It's going to be more depth out of your system, which to me, would make Justin Upton more attractive. I don't want to see the Orioles gut their system to get Kemp, who, when he's healthy, he's outstanding. He's not always that player, whereas Justin Upton's been a very consistent performer whenever healthy, and he's been healthy most of the time. If you have to trade one of your premium arms and then just a lesser guy for a year of Upton, that makes more sense, and it will probably be enough to put them, if not at the top of the division, very close to it next year.
Considering all the outfield players, free agent and trades, what's the best play for the Orioles right now?
Again, I would love to see them go get Justin Upton. I don't see a premium outfield free agent who fills what they're missing. There's not a power bat out there, and I'm ignoring, I know there's some Cuban players coming over, there's a Korean shortstop coming over, could play left field. Just sticking with the American-born players, I'd rather see them go the trade route, because the few free agents who are out there are going to get wildly overpaid. You see where the bidding is on Chase Headley. I like Chase Headley. I don't think Chase Headley is a $16 million a year player, but that's what the market is telling us right now.
Keith Law with us, one of the best. Check out his work on ESPN Baseball Tonight. Is cranking it out here with a lot of shows right down the end of the hallway here. Keith Law with us on MASNsports.com.